project I'm looking at in this video is the Electronics Australia March 1979 simple VHF receiver, which I have constructed here and described on the website, and at the end of the video we'll tune through the band and you'll be able to get an idea of what it sounds like. So turning to the article, it's a 3 transistor circuit. There's a BF115 as a VHF regenerative detector. BC549 and BC559 is a 2 transistor audio amplifier which can drive a set of headphones. It's a common type of oscillator circuit where it's operated in grounded bass mode, and you've got feedback between the collector and emitter through this 6.8 picofarad capacitor. And in the collector circuit is the tune circuit, which is the coil and the tuning condenser. And the detected audio appears across the 10k resistor, and the RF is filtered out by the 0.01 condenser. Aerial signal is coupled into the emitter of the BF115 through a 3.9 picofarad capacitor to keep the coupling fairly light, otherwise it will be impossible to get the transistors to oscillate if it's loaded down too heavily. The amount of regeneration is controlled by the 1k pot here, which varies the supply voltage. So the higher the supply voltage here, the greater the chances are it's going to oscillate. And that supply voltage is also stabilized with a 6.8 volt Xenodiode. Now the important thing I suppose about this is that it's regenerative as opposed to the much more common super regenerative receiver. So I thought it would be interesting to build it and compare the two. And yes, there is quite a difference, which I sort of expected, in that the regenerative receiver is limited in its performance because of the narrower bandwidth when the regeneration is adjusted up towards oscillation. When you're receiving ordinary AM voice and music, it's not a problem because it's only about 10 kilohertz bandwidth that you need. But for wideband FM we need a bandwidth of about 200 kilohertz. And the problem is, as you turn the regeneration up, the bandwidth decreases, and that causes distortion. So this type of receiver works best on a strong signal where you can have the regeneration backed off and the bandwidth at its widest. So now I'll open it up and we'll just have a quick look inside. As you can see, I've built it into a die-cast box, which I think gives a more professional appearance and is a bit more rugged than the usual plastic zippy box that they used for the original construction. So on the front we've got the phone sockets, 3.5mm stereo socket with the left and right channels in parallel, power switch, regeneration control, and of course the tuning, which is a vernier dial, which I thought was more appropriate than just a plain old knob. So inside it you can see the tuning condenser here, regeneration pot, 9-volt battery of course, and the tag board with all the components mounted on it, and that's mounted on an aluminium bracket here, secured under the screws that hold the dial onto the front panel. And similarly the battery bracket is secured behind the regeneration pot. And the aerial I've mounted just on a piece of nylon rod which has been drilled out and screwed to the top of the box. So that's an overview of the receiver, and we'll have a look at how it receives offset signals.
Of everything, it's time for a win, Central Coast, and Singo's has it. Boned and rolled legs of lamb, 99 a kilos.
Been looking for you all.
It's gonna take time, whole lot of precious time. Don't dream it, can't keep. I promise that your smile ain't gonna never leave. Shopping sprees in Paris, everything 24 carats. Take a look in that mirror.
To experience it for yourself. Better be quick. Terms and conditions at Volvo. Post Malone returns for his biggest Australian concert.
يحدث كثير من حدث ولم يأتي فيه ببدعة بل أخذ أقاويل delicious, but very complicated to make. I'm always thinking, well, how can I make that, but in 10 minutes with...
I swear it's so hard.